Thank you, everybody, for coming today. Welcome, everyone, for joining us. On behalf of Acme Paper, we're excited to host this webinar today of Demystifying AI. Our focus today is not just on the physical products we sell every day at Acme Paper, the cups, the ovens, the napkins, the toilet paper. What we're doing today is really focusing on the foundation of who we are. We're about solutions. We're about helping our clients, helping our community. And the thing that we hear most about right now is AI. And what we wanted to do is bring some solutions and some ideas today to help fill in a lot of the blanks of things that we're discussing. So today we're just dialing in on that commitment. A couple of housekeeping notes. Microphones are off, cameras are off, but the Q&A button and the chat is open. We're going to do a good job of trying to keep up with Q&A. Our promise to everyone today is if we don't answer your questions during the webinar, we will collect them all and get them back out to the group in the next couple of days with answers to all of those questions. But we're going to try and get to everything that everybody's curious about while we're here today. With that, I want to officially introduce Nick Damoulakis, CEO of Orases. Nick and his team have built IT solutions for companies ranging from the NFL to the United Way, as well as the Maryland Restaurant Association. His work ranges from digital strategy development, product development, more recently AI implementation programs that not only improve operational clarity, decision making, but also increase customer engagement for businesses. So we're tremendously fortunate to have Nick spend his time with us today. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Nick.
All right. Thank you, Scott, for that introduction. Everybody hear me okay? Everything's good? A couple housekeeping items we have here. Number one, you will get all the slides to this. So at the end of this presentation, there's a QR code that will be presented. We'll ask you a couple questions, and then you'll be able to download this presentation. In addition to that, any tool that I talk about today, you'll be able to download any tool that I talk about. You'll be able to have a link to it. So don't worry about that. And as we go along, like Scott was saying earlier, ask questions. You know, there's a chat that's available. I have it open on my screen so I can see the chats. There's a Q&A area, ask Q&A. And most importantly, use the emojis. Show me something that you guys are hearing me or you're excited about something. I believe there's a button for emojis that everyone can see. If you want to give that a quick test here, give me a couple emojis, make sure that works. Or is it called reactions? Press reactions. Just want to make sure that works as well. That helps me understand, you know, what things I should be talking about most as we go through this. Or you can sit back, relax, and just listen, and hopefully you get some good stuff out of this. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and start here. And what I want to remind everybody here is we are only 1,105 days in since ChatGPT came out. That's it. Only 1,105 days since ChatGPT was available to the general public. And I bring that up because we're all learning. There really are limited experts in this. And those that were experts that learned it 1,000 days ago, quite frankly, that stuff is obsolete. Just today, there's a new version of ChatGPT that's going to be coming out, and there's going to be a whole new things to learn. So I bring up that we are in the entry level of AI, and we're just at the cusp of learning what this can really do. With that said, there's a fear that a lot of companies and people have. When I give this presentation, you know, I always get a lot of feedback from people, and I ask them, you know, what's the biggest fear you have? And when I bring it all together, I can summarize it in these 5 elements. There's a fear of missing out. There's a fear of not knowing where to start with AI. There's a fear that your competitors are getting ahead of you. There's a fear of spending money with no return on investment. You know, we've all made investments in technology. And it's like, I don't know if that really worked for me on that ROI. And then there's the fear of what it will do to your culture. So all of these elements, I want to take a moment and kind of talk through throughout today. But before we get there, I kind of want to give a little bit of background on myself. So I started real young, loving computers. I was programming at an early age. I was fortunate enough where my dad was an engineer, brought computers in from his work, and I used to always dabble with them constantly. My future, though, was in guitars. So any musicians on here? Anybody give me a thumbs up or reactions on some musicians? I had a true passion of being a musician and moving off to California and starting a band of some sorts. Unfortunately, my dad had a different future for me. One day I woke up I had my clothes packed, dropped me off at school, and said, come back with a degree or don't come home. However, I took my first computer science class and fell in love with what you could do with a computer. And I was one of the first people that created one of the first online tablature sites on the internet. Unfortunately, that also brought on some lawsuits. So I was the first person to also get sued by Harry Fox Agency, Sony, and BMG for putting Tab online. But one thing I did learn is how easy it was with technology to disrupt an industry. And from there, I started a company in 2000 called Orases. And today, we're based in Frederick, Maryland. We're 60 full-time employees, and we bring technology and AI consulting to companies. So that's just a little bit about me and why I'm so passionate about this. And if anybody wants to stop by the office in Jam, feel free. But with that said, I talked about bringing this technology when the internet came out and what you were capable of doing in disrupting industries. But I can tell you this, I have not seen a more disruptive technology since the creation of the internet. AI is a game changer. And it's a game changer because it can actually do cognitive thinking. So today I'm going to share with you how it does that and how you can harness that power and use it in both your personal life and also in your career and at work. So a couple things we have to understand though. Business 101. Let's talk about this. We all have businesses, and over time, those businesses grow. And at some point, they start plateauing out. Every business has a moment where it starts plateauing. And what's happening is you have to make decisions in your organization to do what's called jumping the S curve, meaning you're jumping from one S curve to another and obtaining a higher growth. And when you get to this plateau area, you have an inflection point where you have to make a decision. Do I do the status quo? Do I do nothing? Or do I jump and do something to jump and use these technologies to help me plateau to the next level in my business? However, when you jump a plateau, there's something that you have to do that we all have to be careful about. You must jump and bring in a technology, and it must harness some real value that people see quickly. Because if you bring in a technology and then people don't see over time any type of true value or anything giving back to them, you end up in what's called the valley of death. And that's a bad area to be. People start saying, I don't know if this technology is worth it. I'm going to stop using it. Morale in the company starts going down. Confidence in leadership starts going down. So you really have to make sure that you have a real plan when you bring AI into your business, both with the people and the culture, and also that you're obtaining projects that actually give you true value. When you're going through this plateau, bringing these changes into your company, this is what your people are feeling. And maybe many of you are feeling this. I know when AI came out and disrupted our industry in custom programming and web development, we were feeling confused, frustrated, insecure, brought a lot of anxiety, even sadness to many. What is this going to do? And at some point, you have to start getting to that acceptance and exploring and problem solving and integrating it into your daily work life. And that's when you start really finding and harnessing the power of AI. So I bring that up. When you see all these shiny tools, don't forget about the core part of your business, the people. The people, the people, the people. They are what runs companies. They're always going to be needed in your business. And you got to make sure that you're communicating with them and making sure that you are addressing their concerns, of their feelings of what you're seeing on this slide, and getting them through being confused and frustrated to actually being a problem solving and integrating these tools into their business. Now, with that said, let's talk about where we are with AI today. I kind of wanted you guys to get an update of, okay, if I just started with AI today, where are we? What's happening out there? Because as you all know, AI feels really, really complicated. There are so many tools. You can Google something. There's a tool just about for everything nowadays with AI. But this is why, and this is what I want you guys to comprehend here. We all have maybe Uber on our phones. Uber took 70 months to get to 100 million users. For those on Instagram, it took 30 months to get to 100 million users. All of those with our teenagers on TikTok, it took 9 months to get to 100 million users. ChatGPT took only 2 months to get to 100 million users. 100 million users in just 2 months. So I want you to see the momentum of what this is doing and why people are jumping on this bandwagon and understanding what ChatGPT and what AI can actually do in your business. There are roughly, they believe, around 900 million users on ChatGPT today. And for the first time ever this month was the first time that there was a slowness of people adopting and getting on ChatGPT ever. And when I say slow, only 7 million new subscribers in 1 month came on. So there is a slowness that is starting to happen. And with that said, for all those marketing folks out there, if you're in marketing, just in marketing alone, if you look at 2011, there were about 150 applications you could use to help you with marketing. Today, there are over 15,000 different applications alone in just marketing to help you run your business. And when you start looking at everything, it's just overwhelming. Here's a list of all the registered products that claim to use AI that are available for you in your business. I mean, where do you even start? Where do you even start? How do you know what you're using as the best product? One of the ways you can start is there's actually a web site called There's an AI for That. That's TAAFT.com. Now remember, all the links, tools, everything you're going to get afterwards, right? There's a QR code, you'll have access to everything. There are 42,000 different AI tools in there that helps you get through all the garbage. People rate them, they tell you what's good, what's bad. At the end of this presentation, I'll also go through some of those tools as well to help bring them to the forefront. But when we really start looking at the current state of AI in our business, I wrote into Nano Banana recently, show me what it looks like. And this is what they came up with. Now, I'm interpreting this as the wild, wild west. I'm interpreting this as a bunch of AI bots all battling each other. And these big four, I'm assuming, would be ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, maybe Perplexity's in there, a Copilot, of them really fighting it out. But it's pretty scary when you start using this stuff. So I'm going to take a moment here, and Julie's going to help me out with a little survey here. We'll do a little Jeopardy here, right? And Julie, what do we have here for the question here? Let's get everyone to get a little interactive here. What do we have here?
I'm pressing launch right now. You guys will see it on your screen. This just helps us understand what platforms you are currently using. If you aren't using any, don't press any. It's like you're getting an answer.
Let's go. Let's go ahead and see what products everybody's using. There's ChatGPT, Claude, Gronk, Perplexity, Copilot, Gemini. If you get a minute, let's see what everybody's using here.
Nick, can you see the responses pouring in?
I can't see the responses, but I see the
What do you expect is winning? Because I'll tell you if you're right.
I'm gonna make a giant leap that ChatGPT is number one.
It is, yeah. ChatGPT right now, 85%. I'll give you guys another
85.
20 seconds. All right, we'll give another 20 seconds. 15 seconds. All right, just another 10 seconds to see if we get a couple more votes. All righty. All right, I'm ending in 5 seconds. Let's see. Okay.
All right, here we go for the results here. By the way, how you guys like my Nano Banana here of me being the host of Jeopardy there. I'll show you guys Nano Banana, but that's a great way to make images. So here we are today. ChatGPT, number one, Gemini, going to Copilot, Perplexity, and then we have Claude and Gronk, and we'll kind of talk about each one of these. The results are not surprising. The results are not surprising. This graphic right here shows you, out of all the AI tools that are out there, the amount of traffic on the internet that they're producing. And here you can see, just like with our results, OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, has about 75% of all AI traffic. Just following that, Gemini, which if you are on Google Suite versus Microsoft, Gemini is a great product. You got to look at it. It's a great product. That's number two. And then as you start getting into it, DeepSeek. A lot of people are using DeepSeek. I know it got a bad rap because it's from China, but you can run it locally on your computer. Very popular. Elon Musk, Grok, Perplexity, then Claude and Copilot. So not so surprising here based on the data we're seeing. But in today's conversations, I'm really going to focus on probably ChatGPT and Gemini. Those are really your leaders. I know in larger organizations, they're forcing Copilot. Copilot's nice. But when you start seeing the power of what ChatGPT and Gemini can do, it's a whole nother level. And Claude, those three. So let's keep going through and how people are using AI today. How people are using AI. You know, in 2024, when it first came out, people were generating ideas. They started using it for a little bit of companionship and therapy, maybe. A lot of text editing, we all used it for that. A lot of fun and nonsense and so forth. In 2025, the number one use for AI is therapy and companionship. Therapy and companionship, a little scary there, especially for kids. You know, there are AI chats that are out there that your kids have if they're using some of the products out there that just, it talks to them and just keeps them up to date. I read in February of this year in the New York Times that the first person fell in love with ChatGPT. I mean, this is crazy stuff that's happening out there. I'm with you, Tiffany. Yikes, right? Trusting ChatGPT for therapy. Today, we'll also share how ChatGPT actually works and how these AI models work. And you'll start understanding why they're so good at that. A lot of people are using it in 2025 for organizing their lives, finding purpose. It's a great way to brainstorm and find purpose. Enhanced learning, you're seeing more and more, especially for those using Google Notebook LM. You can learn a mass amount of information really quickly. For those that are coders out there generating code, generating ideas, again, the fun and nonsense is not going to stop, especially with Sora making videos or Sumata making songs. Just so much fun you can have just building absolutely no value for your business or anything else, but just having fun. But you can see the difference of how things are going. And I can't wait to see what happens in 2026 here. The inventor of Twitter came out with this one. Building in AI is wild right now. Only way I can describe it is like hundreds of teams trying to build high-speed rails while thousands of other teams build the trains, and no one has any idea which rails or trains work. And there's a high chance everything just breaks. That's what it's like out there. Now, you have to remember why this was written. You have your big AI models, right? When I say AI models, I'm talking about OpenAI, which owns ChatGPT. That's where it started. Then from there, some people broke out of there because they felt like it wasn't ethical of what they were doing there. And they created Anthropic, which is backed by Jeff Bezos. And they created Claude. Claude is a great product, especially if you're coding. It also has some of the best writing and emotional intelligence there. And then you start getting into Gemini, which Gemini 3 came out in Nano Banana Pro. And as soon as those came out, the results were so good on what it can do. OpenAI declared a code red saying, we have a serious problem. They're taking our market share. And I'm telling you, a lot of people don't talk about Google Gemini, but right now it's one of the leaders. It's one of the leaders. And those are really your big three when you look at it. Those are your big three. I know there's a lot of people on Microsoft with Copilot, but that's really powered by some of the parts of OpenAI, by the way. They're big investors in there. So those are called models, LLM, large language models, and those are your big three. Today we'll be talking mostly about ChatGPT. Sam Altman of Twitter, he said, it's not that the future is going to happen so fast, it's that the past happened so slow. I love this statement. Love it. So let's kind of talk a little bit about AI at work on how people are actually using AI at work. And really what they're doing is they're using it as a personal intern. And the reason why I say that is because of this. AI is like an intern, useless without instructions, dangerous without supervision, brilliant when guided well. And I cannot summarize how to use AI any better. This is it, dead on. Now, when you start looking at how people are using AI at work, they're amplifying their productivity, right? They're able to do more faster using the power of AI, especially when they start going through data. They're accelerating the way that they're learning and skill growth. They're enhancing decision-making, boosting creativity and expression, and they're building a personal leverage and freedom here. So these are the big summaries of what we're finding that's out there. And we'll break these up a little bit more. And at the end of the day, this is the big thing. Employees want AI. Leaders are just looking for a way to have a path forward using it. And with that path forward, there are 2 studies that came out. Both of them were from Microsoft and LinkedIn, which is the same thing, but they brought the research together. And the first in 2024, they came out with AI at work is here. Now comes the hard part. And it summarizes a lot of the information I'm going to give you in a second, but it summarizes, hey, it's here. People want it, but leaders just don't know how to bring it into their business. In 2025, the same research was done from Microsoft and LinkedIn. And they say the frontier firm is now born. So let's kind of break down on what the findings were in there. Their findings are saying, hey, employees won't wait. They're going to bring it regardless. Even if you say no AI at work, they're still using it. That's what the data shows. They're finding that skills beat pedigree, meaning people who are at businesses for a long time, if they don't have the skills of using AI, people are using AI and they're skipping the ladder and getting promoted faster. Power users are finally starting to show return on investment of using AI. Intelligence is on tap. Agents go mainstream. We'll talk a little bit about AI agents. And it's really closing the capacity and redesigning how we do work with the power of AI. And for the first time ever, and we're seeing this more and more, managers are not just managing people, but they're managing AI agents as well. So managers aren't just managing people, they're managing agents in their organization. So when we really break this down, this is what this data is saying here. 3 out of 4 people use AI at work, right? 3 out of 4 people are using AI at work. They're saying, hey, if you don't supply people with AI, Gen Z, 85% of them are going to bring it. Millennials are at 78, Gen X is at 76, Boomers are at 73. And this was in 2024 data. So this is only getting bigger here. Managing agents. What do I mean about managing agents? I'm going to hold that and come back. Once we learn how AI works, I'm going to show you some examples of what an AI agent is. So I'll come back to that. I promise I'll answer that one. This one is absolutely crazy that I read. Leaders would not hire someone without AI skills. Think about that one. So when you're doing your interviews right now, how many of you are asking, hey, do you use AI? Is it mandatory for their skills? Here's another great one here. This is in 2025. Leaders versus producers, the familiarity of AI agents, 67 to 40. Leaders regularly use AI, 69 to 45 of our employees. Leaders are actually trusting AI for high stakes work, 78%. 78% of leaders are going to AI for high stakes work. The expectation that you'll be able to manage an AI agent, 36%. And the use of AI as a thought partner, 54%. Seeing AI as a career accelerator, 79% for leaders. And right now, leaders are saying, hey, if I use AI, I save about an hour a day, where employees are finding 20%. So some really good, interesting data there. And I bring this up because employees are using AI and AI assistants to help them to help them finish 25% of their work. And it's actually producing high quality results. Companies just they have to foster AI. They have to create a culture that allows people to bring AI into it and not discourage it. And here's a great quote: AI won't take your job, but someone using it might. Right? So I bring up some of these things just because, again, I go back to 1100 days. We are in the 1994, 1995 stage of the internet right now, if you guys can remember that. Remember when we said, no, I don't need email. I'll keep using my fax machine and write letters. I don't need a website. I don't need a website. That's where we are today. That's where we are today. And I remind you guys this because imagine showing up to a job today saying, I don't know how to use the internet. You know, that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. Jobs are replaced by the internet. You know, when was the last time we had someone selling encyclopedias at our front door? You know, that went from encyclopedias went to Wikipedia. Wikipedia turned into ChatGPT real quick. But then there were also a lot of jobs that were created by the internet as well. Social media, some new digital marketing, so forth. Web development. I built a whole company because of the internet. And what we have to start thinking about of what jobs will be eliminated and created by AI. That's really what we have to start thinking about here. So reframe here. Let's think about this. AI doesn't take your job, but AI allows you to do any job, allows you to do any job. So for myself as a coder, I can now make films, which I've actually done in Sora. And a filmmaker can actually write code and use vibe coding. We'll talk about a little bit on that. It allows non-specialists to get started, right? So it allows us to get 0 to 80% there. However, you still need specialists to get it polished off and get to 100%. So it's not everything. All right, how are we doing so far? Everybody doing good? Everybody doing good out there? We're going to get to this next part here, and I love this. What I want you guys to understand out of this part is an understanding of how AI actually works, how AI works. And I truly do believe once you understand at a fourth grade level of how AI works, you then know how to use it and expectations of it. All right, sound good there? Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Yeah, the chat open, any QA? All right, I'll keep it moving here.
Hey, Nick.
Yes.
One thing you've mentioned in the past that I think is worth pointing out, in all of the things that AI can do well, you've mentioned something once about, hey, what if I put like math in there? What if I put like stuff in there and I ask it to do some formulas for me? What should I trust? What shouldn't I trust?
Great question. Great question. So whenever you put anything into AI and get something out, one, you always have to verify everything, right? Especially when you start getting into math. Math is really complicated for AI to do correctly. And I think in this next section, I'll be able to answer why that's so tough, right? However, I'm finding that Gemini is answering math really, really well. But I do, I analyze a lot of stuff with numbers and so forth with AI. I always have to verify. I always have to verify. And usually there's an error with what I put in and what I asked it to do. All right, let's get in. Let's understand how this actually works. So I'm going to keep everything at a fourth grade level. We're going to get a little nerdy, but just hang in with me. Hang in with me. In math, we all know 2 + 2 = 4. However, in AI world, I'm going to prove to you why AI is 2 + 2 = 4-ish. And this is really important to understand because this is how it all starts. All right. So if there's any time you got to concentrate on what I'm going to be talking about here, this would be the moment where you got to focus. We all hear this word tokens. Tokens is what powers AI. And, we have to understand what a token is to start this whole conversation off. A token in this level, and we're going to keep everything at fourth grade. What are tokens? Tokens are nothing more than syllables in a word for now. So if I say dog or cat, that's 1 token. If I say kitten, that's 2 tokens. Artificial intelligence, 4 tokens, right? You guys getting this? 1 to 2 paragraphs might be 100 tokens. Maybe 3 to 4 pages of text is about 2,000 tokens. Everything starts with tokens. So if I ask you, and give me some responses here, just so I can get a little interactive here in the chat. What are tokens? Question mark. How many tokens do you think that is? We'll give everybody 10 seconds there. How many tokens? What are tokens? Question mark. How many tokens do you think we got there? 10. Let's get a couple more in there. What are tokens? 5, 4. All right. So the way that this works, what are tokens? That's 2 right there. And then the question marks your number 5 there. So 5 is the right answer, right? It's not always perfect. I'm also going to say that. Again, we're keeping everything at 4th grade level here, but essentially it's syllables. And this is where the magic starts happening, everybody. What are tokens gets broken out, and then each one of those words are converted to a number, right? Or each one of those syllables is converted to a number. So what becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, R is 5, 6, 7, token 8, 9, 10, so forth, right? And for this conversation today, what I want you to think about is that each one of those numbers, if you put a map out, is a coordinate on a map. All right. So to recap here, tokens are nothing more than syllables broken down into numbers. Those numbers are coordinates on a map. Everybody good with that so far? All right. Now, most of us know what databases are, right? And think of a database, we all used Excel sheets. And Excel sheets work really similar to a database. So for simplicity, I'm going to keep to that. A database looks for similarity, right? Or relationships. So if I say Nick Damoulakis, it might say Nick Damoulakis, title, CEO, company, Orases. It's a one-to-one relationship. And that's how your traditional databases work. However, traditional databases are not powerful enough to go into vector data, into powering LLMs. They're just not. They're too accurate. Because if 2 plus 2 is 4 and everything's so accurate, it doesn't get an LLM model like ChatGPT to be more creative. Everything's an absolute. Everything's an absolute. So something was invented called a vector database, a vector database. And the vector databases look for similarities between these words, or AKA they're converted to numbers, right? And vector databases work on similarity. So the similarity comes into effect. Well, I'll do an example here real quick. So I want to go back to tokens are put into a vector database, and they're nothing more than coordinates in this 3-dimensional vector database. Everybody go with that part? All right. So more interactive parts there. If I was to tell you king is to men as woman is to what? What would you guys, queen? There we go. Thank you, Harry. Anybody else? King is to men as woman is to. What's the answer there? Now, what's processing in our brains, right, is if you look in this bottom right area, we probably know we're dealing with royalty. We said the word king. On the opposite side of that, there's queen. We said men, the opposite of men is woman. And this is really how a vector database works. It's finding connections. So the answer, yeah, is queen. So you win, Harry. Let's try one more here. France is to Paris as USA is to what? Give me a couple more people here. You're going to need some interaction here. This is going to be pretty interesting. France is to Paris as USA is to what? There we go. Now you're starting to understand why vector databases and traditional databases don't work. And all of these are pretty darn accurate. So for instance, people put in New York, Washington, DC, NYC, District of Columbia. All of these could be right. And you're starting to understand the difference between a database and a vector database. And really you're starting to understand context, right? And the reason I used to do this question and everyone used to say Washington, D.C., D.C., District of Columbia. And about a month ago, someone for the first time ever said New York City. I'm surprised so many people said New York City here. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Why did you say New York City? Like, well, the context is France or Paris is the biggest city in France. I didn't even think about that when I put this question out there. So thank you for participating in that one. Here's the hardest one. Bark is to dog as cat is to what? Bark is to dog as cat is to. There we go. And I just had to get dancing kittens in here for this presentation. So thank you for helping me out with that. All right. Now you understand what tokens are, and you understand what a vector database is, and you understand that that's what powers these LLMs. Now think about this. If I took the most powerful computer that you can buy today, off the shelf, like a MacBook M5, right? And I had it scrape the entire internet and take all that information and make a vector database. How long do you guys think that would take? How long would it take for one Mac computer, the most powerful Mac computer, to go through all of the internet, scrape the internet, put all that data into a vector database, convert all those tokens into numbers, put them into a vector database, maybe take all the books, Claude went out and found all the books out there and analyzed all the books and put them into a vector database. We have one person with 5 years, 1,000 years, right? If you did do that today, 2 days, you're sitting at roughly 100 million years. 100 million years. Now, the reason why I bring this up, I want you to understand how much power you need for these large language models to run. Not only is everyone sending in, you have 100 million users plus sending all these tokens into ChatGPT, and all these tokens are making this vector database bigger and better. It's learning off of you, right? And people are creating new vector databases constantly. The amount of power you need to manage that is obscene. The amount of data centers you need, the number of chips you need from NVIDIA to process these tokens and build these vector databases and to take the data out is enormous. And now you're starting to understand why there's such a need for chips, for data centers, for water, for cooling the data centers, and so forth. So I hope that was helpful for everyone. Any questions here in this section? Any questions in this section on how AI works? We learned about tokens being converted over to numbers or coordinates into this database, and how they can start connecting with each other. And that is essentially the power of AI. That's the power of AI. Give it a minute here. Any questions? All right. Now, I told you earlier, it's a 3-dimensional database. What I want you to start comprehending is when you look into the skies at night, think of the galaxies, the universe. Each one of these universes or galaxies that are out there are creating these clusters of information. So if you're talking about hospitality, that might be a cluster or a galaxy that's over here. If you're talking maybe specifically on a restaurant, that's over here in this different galaxy. And think about these vector databases are enormous. They're enormous. They're endless in amount of information. And what you have to do, and why AI is so difficult sometimes where it comes back and gives you the wrong information, is because you're not connecting what you want to the right destination in these vector database and the coordinates, and you're going to different parts of the galaxy, and it's not understanding what you want. So majority of the time when you're using AI, you're putting in a prompt, you have to really start putting in the context around it. I want this really specific information, because when AI goes and looks, it has to look up at the universe and look at all these galaxies, endless of information, and say, I need to go here. I need to connect these things together, these coordinates. So when you put in your prompt, This is a really good way to start your first prompt when you're starting to use AI and ChatGPT. One, give it the role. Give it the role. This allows you to say, hey, I'm an analyst, I'm a business owner, I'm a restaurant entrepreneur. Give it the role. And what that's going to do is once it understands your role, it's then going to go to a certain part in the vector database. Next, give it some examples or samples of what you want. From there, give it a format of how you want the information back to you. Give it a really clear objective and goal, right? Tell it exactly what you want to go do with the goal. Give it a lot of context, a lot of context. You know, the word prompt engineering was a huge word that was out there. Really, you have to give it a lot more context so it knows what galaxy to go to and what stars to connect. Think of it that way. And a great trick before it answers you, the best thing you can do is say, hey, ask me a couple questions before you respond to me so I can get clarity that you understand what I want. And lastly, set some constraints. And if you make this your first prompt when you go into ChatGPT or any of the LLM models, it's really going to focus where you are in that vector database and give you the best results back. And now you understand why. You understand why. All right. Any questions there? Give it a minute here. How we doing, Scott?
We're doing good. I'm tracking.
Doing
I
good.
think I'm learning.
All right. All right. Good stuff. This one's really quick. I want to answer where to start. Where do you start with AI? Where do I even start working on a project with AI? And this, we talk about AI really allowing you to be a super user, and that's what we're really looking at doing is empowering our users, our people and our companies to be super users of AI. And one of the best things you can do, just get a sheet of paper and a pen, and throughout a week, just keep track of mundane tasks that you're doing that's eating up your time, right? So sit down throughout the week, keep a piece of paper next to you. And as you're doing things and you're asking yourself, man, I could delegate this work to a person at minimum wage or $30 an hour, 50, 75, 100, $250 an hour. Think about the work you're doing that you could delegate. Now, to find the best opportunities, do this for 1 week. 1 week. For 1 week, just put a piece of paper next to you. Once you're done with that piece of paper and you organize them from minimum wage to the highest wage for someone to delegate that work, I want you to take all the minimum wage ones and get your top three. Get your top three. The ones that take the most amount of time, the ones that can be delegated to someone with low cognitive level skills, right? So we have one here. What are, in the Q&A, you can ask, what are some tasks that you're already thinking of? Let's put some out in here. One of the ones that I did after doing this was I had, hey, prepping for meetings. The amount of time that I put into prepping for meetings was ridiculous. I'd have to go out there. I'd go on LinkedIn. I'd scrape on LinkedIn. I'd learn about the person. I'd go to their website. I'd Google their name. I'd Google a little bit about their company. So I was prepped on the meeting. And I kind of brought all that together with all that information. And then I learned, hey, I could probably automate this. And we'll go get into an AI agent in 1 second of how that was able to be executed. Once you have your top three, then you ask yourself, you just put it in a very simple formula. And this is called the ICE prioritization technique. Impact. How much does this how much does this task? How much does it contribute to your goal? 1 being near 0, 10 being very high. The next one's a little complicated. It's confidence. Assessing the certainty that the impact can be achieved. So if I was going to do this, am I confident that I can even do this? right? Is ChatGPT powerful enough to do this? Again, 1 is no confidence, 10 is very high. And the last one's effort. How easy is it to get this idea implemented, and the cost and complexity and effort? 1 is extremely hard, 10 is very easy. And if you multiply the impact, confidence, and ease, you get a score. And the one with the highest score is where you start. That is the easiest technique that I found. Easiest technique. All right. So we got about 12 minutes here. I'm going to go through some tools, but should I pause 1 second? Any questions so far?
Hey, Nick,
Yes.
we got 12 minutes. I know this is intended to stop at 11. If
Mhm.
there's questions or information, are you good to
Yeah.
continue this for an extra 15? So if people can stay on, we can maybe get a little more insight on some of the stuff Nick has for
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
everybody, and you can catch up later on it.
Yep. Oh, this is great, Danny. Thanks for throwing that at transferring data from Excel spreadsheets to third-party forms. All right. This is great. You guys can throw out these ideas, and I'll get to as many as I can. If I don't get to them by the end of the hour, we'll do them in that overtime area. Don't forget, everything is recorded. We'll put the recording up in here as well. So some big tools here. Number 1, I mean, ChatGPT. I can't say enough about it. You guys saw the statistics on ChatGPT. And what I want to do is I want to bring ChatGPT in here for a second. And I want to share a couple things that some people just might not be aware it's capable of doing. So number 1, ChatGPT. When someone said transferring data from Excel spreadsheet to third-party forms, Danny, one of the things you could look at, now this is for the paid version of ChatGPT Business, and I'll explain what that is. But you're going to notice there's something called agent mode right here. Agent mode. And agent mode, you can go in there and you can actually show it and explain what you want it to do with those Excel sheets. And it can have control of your computer in a micro menu in here and actually transfer that data from the spreadsheet to the form. Right? You're going to have to play with it a little bit, Danny, but it will work over time, right? It will work over time. And that's called agent mode. This came out fairly recently. And what it basically is a prompt that you can write in here. And then it opens up a window in ChatGPT. And it's like it has power within your computer to start moving data around and spreadsheets and so forth. Really cool thing. Really cool thing. I want to come over here and explaining this stuff. Number 1, if you come into your settings area, let's take a look at settings. Number 1 thing people don't do is they don't connect ChatGPT to other sources within their organization. So ChatGPT can connect to HubSpot, to Slack, all sorts of different products that you can see here. All sorts of different products. All sorts of different products here. If you're in Google Drive, it can connect to your Gmail, your calendar. And it's really simple. Like if I want to connect it, I just hit the word connect. And with a little authentication, this is how easy it is. Continue. And boom, it will have now access to my email. Oops. So that's a really cool way to get things going. And once you have access to everything in your computer, whether you're on Google or Microsoft, but once you are connected to everything, then you have a company knowledge database where it can actually connect to just about anything in your organization. And you can use ChatGPT to ask it questions against all of these items. Great way to start using ChatGPT to harness the data within your organization. So a couple things here. Can ChatGPT link to NetSuite? The answer is yes, over what's called an MCP connection. It's a little more complicated, but the answer is yes. You just need to get some technical people to set that up. Does Gemini have similar? Yes. Gemini and Claude and ChatGPT all connect with what's called MCP connections to other systems. And it's by far one of the most powerful things you can do to start getting ChatGPT to harness the power of all the stuff in your organization. And these things, the word for them is called RAG systems. Retrievable Augmented Generative AI means that it's able to go to multiple systems and bring data back to you. So it's a great thing there. How safe is it to share? Security is another thing, guys. I think that probably something that, depending on how big or small you are, the answer varies on that. If you're paying for the Pro system, it's a little bit better. As you can see down here, ChatGPT's workspace data is not used to train in any way. But again, I don't know how much I believe all that stuff. Security is a tough one. And you have to be really careful that if you're giving access to people, remember they have access to everything. So you as a business owner, it's a little easier. Once you start getting down to employees and giving them access to these giant systems, be careful. Be careful. So there is some planning to do there. But I'm going to continue on that. Let's see. Can I connect to estimating specific programs like auto quotes? Probably. Auto quotes, all these systems out there all want you to start having the power of AI. So MCP connections, you have to get in touch with auto quotes or any of your third-party systems and ask them for an MCP connection. And once they create that for you, you're able to do it. Scott, you say auto quotes does not have a direct link. Yes. So, all right. So that's a really cool little feature inside the settings that people sometimes overlook. Once you have that, you can also schedule and have ChatGPT do certain things at certain times. So you can actually create a prompt that says, hey, prep me for my day, and go in my calendar and my email and prep me for my day. So you can manage certain things and schedule them out. I would recommend, we talked about security a little bit right here, improve the model for everyone, turn that off. That means it's learning on you. So that's definitely something you want to turn off. I think those are like some bigger things right there. Now, what in ChatGPT, a couple things. Number one, you're going to notice up here, there's auto instant thinking and pro, right? This is for the business version of ChatGPT. The business version allows you to have a way where you can add employees within an organization. I highly recommend, if you're moving to bringing an AI system into your organization, that you do it with some control. And moving to ChatGPT Business Plan is definitely the way to do it. It's $25 a month. Definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. Remember, sometimes employees come and go, and you're going to want access to what they did in these AI models as they become more and more powerful. So that's the difference there. Inside here as well, you have auto, where if you put in a prompt, it decides how to answer it on what model to use. Instant, it answers it really fast for you. Thinking, it goes out and sends a lot of AI agents into the vector database, and kind of they talk to each other and figure out what the best response is. And pro, if I put in a response prompt in there, it's going to take about 20 to 30 minutes to answer, because it's going to go and keep asking, is this right? Is it right? Is it right? So the more research you want, you can pick thinking or pro. If you just want something quick and you're not sure what to do, just keep it on auto. But definitely play around with these different ones. What is the main difference between ChatGPT and Gemini? What do you like most about them? I bounce between Claude, ChatGPT, and Gemini. Look, they're getting to the point where they're all the same. They're getting to the point where they're all the same. 1 month, one is higher than the other as far as it can do more. It's faster. But quite frankly, they all have the same feature sets. So everything I'm sharing with you, you can do in Claude, Gemini, or ChatGPT. They might just be called different things. If you want to get a little bit more technical, again, Claude is really good for programming. Gemini, right now, they're video and manipulation of photography is hands down the best. ChatGPT is the best generic. It does everything well, if that's helpful. Are the fees connected per user in the company or per company? It's per user. So if people go over the amount of tokens that they're allowed to use, you can buy more. Is it safe to link ChatGPT or Gemini to your bank account or credit cards? To accounts to pull balances and analyze expenses? I think that's a personal question. Some are okay with it. Look, I put some of my healthcare information in here to analyze healthcare. I think everyone has their own tolerance of risk, so you're just going to have to answer that one yourself. Personally, yeah, it saves me a boatload of time. But again, I can't answer security for everybody. Everyone has their own feelings about it. All right, a couple cool things in here on ChatGPT that I want to make sure we get to. Number two coolest thing, projects. These are going to be something called different in Gemini. They're called gems. And what a project does, for me as a CEO, I have a couple different projects that I work on and different personas. So in here, I might be, if I'm talking about Orases, I'm going to be in this project. If I'm managing my flag football team and I'm a coach, I may have a different persona in here. So what a project allows you to do, and this is really cool, guys. You name it something, CEO of Orases, I don't know. And I can create a project. And what this is doing is it's basically creating a new vector database, right? That allows me to add files in here. So right here, I can add files about this persona, things that I wanted to bring to the front of the vector database to make it true. And it doesn't merge what I'm talking about with other things in ChatGPT with mixing this persona. So I kind of look as projects and gems as a way to keep your persona and vector database a little more tighter on specific things. So for those that want to analyze maybe your bank statements, you can download them, add them in a file, say I'm a professional analyst. Please take a look at this and tell me where I can save money or analyze my spending over the year and so forth. And it keeps it all private in here and it doesn't mix it with other things. So I think that's a pretty cool thing. So that's projects. One last thing I'll share in here to explore is GPTs. Some people already created these projects and they're really specific on things and they solve really specific problems. So if you're on LinkedIn and you don't like going on LinkedIn, but you have to post stuff a lot for your business, maybe you can come in here and someone created a viral LinkedIn post generator. That's 50,000 users are doing it. This one has 200,000 users, a professional LinkedIn writer, and I can download this. I can start using it. And then I can type in here, hey, write me a LinkedIn post on blah, blah, blah. So very cool feature. Again, I'm just doing a really quick 101 version of this stuff. But again, definitely ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, they all work the same way.
Hey, Nick,
Yes.
a question that popped up that came to me. What about sharing an account with a coworker or even within your family?
Yeah, I strongly recommend don't doing it. You're saving $20 or $30 a month. The problem is when you start sharing it, what they start writing and what you start writing are two different types of things that people want out of it, and your vector database gets messed up. So you could do it, but you're not going to get this personalization as much. Yeah, I really recommend not doing it. I tried doing it before to save money. It's just not worth it. Not worth it. Yeah. All right. Get through a couple more here.
Yeah, one other thing for you,
Yeah.
if you just point out, and you sort of have it running down the side of your column there, is, in regards to projects, you can do specifics on the way that you want content given back to you. And also, they really are your sort of internal personas. You've shared that you have the one that you do for business, you coach flag football, the way that you communicate the information that you want, the way that it's fed back to you is different. So that's really some of the value you get out of the projects.
Yeah, really good stuff there. Cool. I'll go through a couple quick things and we'll get into Q&A. Again, Claude, we talked about Claude, same thing, guys. They use artifacts and projects. Gemini, if you're on Google Suite, use Gemini. It is phenomenal product. Perplexity, great product as well, especially if you're searching or buying things. Just huge in here. Nano Banana, if you want to create images and you want to manipulate photos with a prompt instead of using Photoshop, phenomenal product. Nano Banana, you will not find a better way to alter photos. Absolutely. Couple things. Gamma, for those that have to put PowerPoints together, check out Gamma. Gamma, we're all recording all our conversations nowadays. You can take the recordings of the conversations, put them into Gamma, and it creates a PowerPoint for you. Great product. Definitely give it a shot. If you're on LinkedIn and you want to grow your LinkedIn, definitely check out SuperGrow. This can be for personal or business. A couple other ones out there. This one's a big topic. We could spend a whole hour on it. There's GEO, SEO and GEO, generative search engine optimization. Less people are using Google to find places of where to go, and they're going to ChatGPT to find where to go for restaurants or places to stay. Some of these products that are coming out, like Kaya, Peak AI, they actually look at how you're showing up in Claude or ChatGPT, and they help you optimize so you show up for those things. If you're in marketing, you better have a GEO plan. 11 Labs is really nice if you want to do some training and you want to do a recording of yourself and have training seminars. 11 Labs really nice for that. Claude is a great product you can get, and it can record any meeting for you, and then the transcripts are in front of you all the time. Nice little product there. I'll do a couple more here. Notebook LM. If you have to learn a lot of information, you can put in Notebook LM. It will create a podcast for you, flashcards, infographics. It's a great way to learn and understand anything. Definitely give it a shot. Great for training and learning. Let's see, a couple other of my favorite in here. If you need help with marketing, this Blaze, check this out. This will help you put entire campaigns together, paid ads, so forth. Great little product there. If you want to build AI agents, and I know we ran out of time, whoever asked me about AI agents, if you hit me up, we'll do a whole thing on that. I think it's really important to look at that. N8N is the leader on creating AI agents. These are basically workflows in your business that can be automated with AI. So that's a great product. And if you want to build an app, use Lovable or a website. You can just go in there and say, build me a website on blah, 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 and it will go through and make it for you. It's a really cool little product there. So with that said, we're kind of getting to the end. I went a little bit over here. I will stay on for Q&A and answer any questions. If you guys would be so kind to scan this, you get access to the slideshow. You get access to all the tools I talked about and some, and we'll keep that up to date with anything else there. So with that said, thank you, everybody, and we'll open up some Q&A.
Yeah, Nick, we got a couple questions in the room. One is, what is the best way to separate business life persona and personal via projects and ChatGPT? Do you get separate accounts?
Yeah, great question. It's just too complicated. Ideally, yeah, you could. However, I go back, if you're using ChatGPT or Gemini, you can just create a separate project for personal. And if you ever leave that company, you can go in there and download all your transcripts from the past and import them into your personal one as well. Some of the power you get between the free version, personal, and business are drastically different. So you want to make sure you're choosing the best one, and then you can always export your information and re-import it into your system. If you're using commercial stuff for personal, know it's just like email. Your organization has the power to stop giving you access and look in there and see everything that's in there. So be careful, especially as we saw everyone uses it for companionship and therapy. So that all becomes publicly available to your organization.
Another question is, what is the best for data analytics? And then earlier there was a similar question, which I think they mirror each other, which is, are there solutions for inventory management, which I think falls into a little bit of data analytics.
Yeah, great questions. For data analytics, I've personally found that Gemini is giving me the best results. So I can put in there a lot of information, whether it's inventory, um, analyzing the data. Now, remember, you have to give it the right context. So you can't just upload a bunch of numbers and say, make this magic happen, right? You have to give it the proper context. So what I like to do is I like to start those projects in ChatGPT, upload the files, give it a really good prompt to make sure the context is correct. Give it some simple ones, make sure everything's set up correctly, and then you're able to build off of that. With that said, there are more formal tools for complex problems with inventory management and high numbers. So you can actually develop your own RAG system with a custom software company or other products that I didn't get into that are much more specific for that actual thing. But if you're looking for some easy wins, just create a project, upload the data in there, and give it good context.
There was another question, I think it landed in the chat. How do you avoid duplication when using AI for creative production? Will AI give you similar creatives as other users?
I'm trying to understand this problem. This like duplication, like it's not giving you like real artwork that's already out there, I guess is what I'm
It could be
understanding
that.
that. Yeah.
I think, and having worked on some of this with you before, I think that comes down to prompt engineering. To
Yeah.
give it, if you're vague, it's going to go into the universe sort of vague at the same time and pull from those same places. If you use some of that prompt engineering protocols, you'll be able to dial it into something more specific to you. But I think that also goes back, Nick, to what you referenced earlier, which is, this is an intern doing 80% of the work for you and getting you up and running. And from that point on, as the professional and the expert, it's the individual's job then to curate that last 20% to dial it in.
Yeah. And John, it gets really interesting, like in this example, like I'll say with Nano Banana Pro, you can say, hey, give me this artwork that looks like this art, Sarah, who painted with the dots. You say, give me that style, but do this. Now, remember, because of what I showed you guys earlier about tokens being converted to numbers and the vector database, not all that's perfect. You're never going to get a one-to-one perfect accuracy. It just won't happen. There's always going to be things that are off. It's not perfect. 2 + 2 is not 4, it's 4-ish. So it's never going to be an exact duplication ever, but it can be pretty darn close. But again, you just got to get into that prompt engineering and create your own persona and your own style, and you'll get to something that's really unique for yourself. Yeah. Oh, AI note takers. There's one. I started noticing AI note takers in Teams meeting. Is it kind of similar to ChatGPT? There's a million note takers nowadays. I feel like everybody's got a note taker. There might even be more note takers on this today than there are people. I'm starting to go into meetings now, and it's just note takers. All these note takers, there's some really good ones out there, and there's some that aren't great. I know ChatGPT has their version of a note taker when you get into the pro version. It's all right. You really have to test out to see which note takers are best for you. And some of them for different positions are different for people. There's one note taker I used to love called Chorus that would listen to all the meetings in my organization that were publicly available, not people's one-on-ones, but all of them. And then at the end of the day, it would come back and tell me all the meetings and tones or problems or issues or good things or bad things within the organization. I loved it. So you just got to find the right one that's right for you. But there are a ton of note takers out there. Any other questions that we didn't get to? Well, I hope we answered as much as we could and got you guys all to a better place of some ideas of how to use AI, how it works, where it is today, some of the statistics around AI, where it's at, how you can start or where you should start when you're thinking of starting an AI project for yourself. And we gave you guys some tools. Again, if you guys want to hang out, I can do some Q&A, but I think we're just about there where we've answered everything that you guys have put out there.
Yeah, Nick, thank you so much for jumping on today. I know we're just scratching the surface. And like you said, we've got millions of years of information out there at our fingertips. So it's a powerful tool. There's a lot to explore. I would encourage everybody, spend 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, in one of these models, asking questions, getting comfortable and familiar with it. It will be a tool that is going to take us definitely into the future, enhance our business, and enhance our productivity. And Nick, I appreciate you sharing with us today and getting us off and started here.
Yeah. And now that we have a 100 level of AI, Scott, if people come out and they say, hey, we want to learn more specifically on ChatGPT or analyzing certain numbers, like real specific tasks, we can always follow up with something super specific. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day. Be well.